Hello and welcome to the Reservoir Red Dogs podcast. Thank you very much for downloading this episode. And don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at RRD1865. You can email us rrd1865@outlook.com.
Got there, mate. Oh, here
we are recording. Johnny Owens here. We're just...
They were early.
Well, we started
really
10 minutes
early.
ago.
They were excited. They were excited.
So excited.
And why did he call you Matthew?
Who
Is
called
that
me
like
Matthew?
he called you Matthew? Is that like if
Johnny
you're in
did.
trouble? No, Matt called you Matthew.
Oh, yeah, he does that to patronise me.
Oh, nicely done, sir. Nicely done.
Yeah. I'm glad you picked up on it.
We were just in the intro, but don't worry about it.
Just come in. I like it.
Sorry, Johnny, I thought you were going to be late, you see, so I thought we'd just crack on. Hello and welcome to Reservoir Red Dogs. Thanks for downloading.
Is this the start now?
Oh, Here we go. Hello, and welcome to the Reservoir Red Dogs podcast. Thanks for downloading it. You can follow us on Twitter at RRD.
You can't go with that.
Yes,
I like
you can.
it. Roll with it. Run with it.
Follow us on Twitter at RRD1865. Email us rrd1865@outlook.com. Thank you for all your kind messages about the show. Obviously, we can't read them all out, but we do read them all, so thank you. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and review the podcast to make sure as many Forest fans as possible find it. As always, I'm joined by Paul McGregor. Paul,
And that's all we've got time for today.
how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, thank you. You know my back thing, so I've had a development on it.
Okay.
I know everybody's going to be super interested.
I am.
They are.
Thank you.
They are. Yeah.
So doctors yesterday, they prescribed yoga. So I want to put this out to everybody, right? If anybody in Nottingham, any of our Nottingham-based listeners can talk to me about whether they go for yoga or Pilates or anything like that I can do without any of the chakra.
If we do have any holistic listeners...
No. The opposite. I just want to do the stretching. I want to stretch and do all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
With a professional, without anybody talking to me about energies.
Okay, fair point. So if you can help Macca, tweet us at RRD1865. Email the show, RRD1865.
Thanks, guys.
At outlook.com. We have a very, very special guest today. I think it's worth saying at the start, a number of themes have evolved throughout the show that weren't necessarily predictable at the start. One of them, as we've often said, is that people who play for David Platt really respect him and say that he was a manager ahead of his time and misunderstood. Everyone who played for Billy Davies that was spoken to really, really loves him. And a theme that has really developed is that today's guest was one of the most naturally gifted footballers that so many of the famous Forest youth team played with. He is, of course, Vance Warner. He was at Forest for many years, made 5 appearances for the first team, and is arguably the most talented member of that famous Forest youth side. And, of course, immortalised.
Yeah, are you sure you're talking about me?
Yes!
Okay.
See, this is you. I mean, that's maybe something to start with. You and Macca, I think, have a similar view of your place in Forest history in that you're both, I think, ludicrously modest about the fact that you played for Forest, and both slightly surprised that people remember you playing for Forest.
I think we both went through a period very similar. I remember Vance running away from the game as hard as I did. So I think we both went through a similar period. We were like, right, we've done that. Off we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going, second part of life, and didn't look back. I didn't look at a football match, watch a football match, kick a football for 6 years.
Oh my God!
And I think you're still there.
I still don't think I've kicked a ball since from there.
Really?
Yeah,
That can't
absolutely.
be true.
Because you've got to look at the players that were there. You say naturally gifted. Absolutely physically, definitely. But if you look at Mac was a creator, or Neil Glassy was there. You know, he could ping a ball 40 yards to somebody's feet. I was a destroyer, not a creator. Exactly. So some people, you know, they love to score goals and run through and celebrate. I like to get a clean sheet. I like to put a centre forward into the crowd.
Yes.
Over a stand.
Yes.
That's what it was. So when you execute a perfect slide tackle, take man and ball, and the crowd just roars. It's not akin to scoring a goal, but it's pretty close to that.
But that's your role on the pitch, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And that's as important. You can't win games if you're leaking goals at the back. You
was
build
a
from the back.
Nightmare, an absolute nightmare to play against.
Why?
Well, yeah, he's still got it. He's
Wow,
literally
hello.
hi.
How you doing? Nice to meet you.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been.
He's
I've forgotten your touch.
Lovely first touch. We don't mean with his feet.
delicate, isn't it?
It is.
I'd train against Vance. We grew up playing against each other, then came to Forest and Sheffield Wednesday, and all these kind of clubs we went to together, and we did an awful lot of footballing growing up together. And I used to train against him week in, week out. not only was he faster than me, he was stronger than me. And he was one of those players, well, not one of those players, there's probably 2 players I've ever played against that I would come off injured every time. And not because he's particularly nasty, just if you went near him, like, you'd just come off with a dead leg. And I was like, mate.
I was firm but fair.
Just a physically tough, like, you don't have to catch you and you'd be like, oh. Maybe that shows how weak I was, but he was honestly one of the top 3 hardest players I've played against.
Does that ring bells with you, Vance? You remember being known as being strong and physical?
Because I can remember, a few players go, "Oh, stop it, will you?" Hi. But what happened is that when I play or when I trained, I trained for real. It wasn't take prisoners. Then when people say it's a friendly, it's not a friendly. You're competitive. That's what you do. I'm not going to say it was combat, but I knew what my strengths were. I knew what my weaknesses were. As I said, passing, I think it's been well documented. I might get within 10 yards if I put a pass towards a player. I might get within 10 yards of it. But if it was a man-to-man marking job or it's 50-50, whatever, you would rarely bet against me.
Wow.
In that regards from there. So it didn't matter who you were or where your place was in the team, etc. From there, if you're getting taken out, you're getting taken out. That's just the way the game plays. But I just like the battle against the players. Sometimes some got the better of me. When there's a great piece of skill, you applaud and you say, fantastic. If they megs you take them out by the knees. Because it's like when you try and chip a goalkeeper, you just don't, there's certain things you don't do. Some things you just can't get away with. But it was, as I said, I was more of a stopper. As I said, a destroyer, just not a creator, not a nurturer.
That attitude as well was hilarious because going through the youth team, I had a very successful youth team, and then into the reserves, like we came through together. He would never turn down an opportunity when a ball's going down the touchline and he's got quite a simple clearance, right? He can be 3 yards from the touchline. It would go into, and I mean, Rose, it'd ping off the back wall of a stand at the City ground. Or on the training ground, it would be in the next 3 fields. And all the other team would be like, "No, we've only got one ball." It'd all kick off. And he's just...
So, in my...
Even Cloughie would give him a go.
No. In my defence, Cloughie was saying, put it in Rose Ed. Yeah. That's what he was saying. He said, rather you just tap it out, just clear it. Just clear it. You're a defender. Head it, kick it, clear it. So, who am I to go against genius?
Of course. And you were good at it. So okay, it was a meeting of minds. But you were born in Leeds.
Yes.
So what age did you come to Forest?
It was a strange one. I was an army brat. So my dad was in the army. So I grew up in Northern Ireland, sort of during the Troubles. So if you can imagine a little 3-year-old black kid with a massive afro going, I used to be Irish. Oh, I'm up there. that's where I sort of came from. And then we ended up in Germany for 4 years. And then about 11... This is when we came to Nottingham. So I hadn't really played team football that often other than at school. And where I should have gone to City Boys because I'm that side of the city from there. But my sister convinced my mum to say, look, try and get him into West Bridgford if you can. So I ended up going to Bridgford. And I ended up playing for South Notts. So again, we had a fantastic team at South Notts. I said Lee Marshall was there, Macca was there, Neil Glasser. So a lot of the guys that ended up in Forest were in that South Notts team, like the nucleus of the team. So from there, I ended up playing for County, East Mids. Again, a lot with the same guys there. We played for Forest. Was it Forest Boys?
Yep.
On the Sunday. At the Derby League, something like that. We played Middle Over Dazzlers or Little Over Dazzlers.
Little Over Dazzlers, Sandaker Town.
Yeah.
Chesapeake, etc.
So it's really from there, maybe sort of under 13s, where I started playing more organised football. I said, apart from when you had the 20th sides down the embankment, when you're about 11, you're up against like 20-year-olds. And trying to chase him down and take him down. I think that's where I got my my toughness from, my uncompromising manner. Because when you're 11, you can't back down from a 19-year-old coming at you, can you? You just gotta face up to it.
Well, I would back down from a 19-year-old now, let alone 11. But that's why you were a professional footballer and I wasn't, and you were good at it. So when you first start coming through Forest in a proper sense. So when you stop playing county level, you're now being developed as a youth player. Do Forest officially sign you? How does it work?
I did mine on the back of a Cortina with Mick.
Beg your pardon?
Oh yeah, Mick Connolly, because his son Martin used to play.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, from there. Do you know what? It's so much of a blur, Matt. I was trying to think when I was at school and obviously training as well. How did we do that? When did we train? It's honestly a blur as to how we
had School of Excellence.
Yeah, from the School of Excellence, and then at school. So it's a lot of that is really a blur. As I said, I had to kind of research myself. I know nothing about myself, my career. I've got to go and ask fans. Say, does anyone know what I did?
It's like being John Malkovich, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's it was a little crazy times.
Do you know what you should have done? You should have called Spuggy.
Yeah, Spuggy knows everything.
Oh,
He tells
man.
me stories about myself that I'm like, nah, it didn't happen. He's like, yeah, it did.
Yeah, but he's one of the greatest storytellers known to man.
He
You
really
know what I mean? He's the Roald Dahl of the team.
He is, and he seems to have an encyclopedic memory for what happened. More than anyone else, I think.
Yeah, he really does.
He knows it inside out. So you're coming through the youth team. This is when Brian Clough is managing Nottingham Forest. So how much, as a youth team player, as a young player, how much contact would you have with someone like Clough?
Well, we used to come and see all the youth team games. So when we used to play down there, I can remember a game that we played where I'd played the ball down the line skillfully for a change, rather than the big clearance. Get it out, So I played it down the line, and I started running past the halfway line, and he went, Warner, get back over the line. I was like, all right, boss. You know what I mean? It's like, your job's to defend. Let's not pretend you're a centre for anything. Just go back from there. So we used to watch all the time, and I can remember we'd played a reserve team game. I think we'd played Manchester United, and I think it was just when they used to play on Old Trafford. And I remember Scholes being there, and I had a pretty decent game on that one. And I ended up being on the bench, sort of the following week, the following game, and it was I think it was about 92. It was Luton away, and I was thinking, I think I might have a chance here. And I can remember at half time, so they started announcing all the names, everything from there. And I think one of your listeners or your podders, he'd mentioned it, and so they were going through the names. They say, Roy Keane, Nigel Clough, etc. And it said number 13, Vanek Warbury. I'm thinking, who else is Polish defender? Who's Vanek Warbury? It's my moment of glory. And then, all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh man. And I can remember at half time, I think Des gets injured. And I'm thinking, I'm 17 and I'm thinking, I might go on here. You start thinking, I'll get my socks ready, get everything ready. And I think Roy and Nigel played at the back.
Brilliant.
Rather than me, so I just sat on the bench and I'm thinking, yeah, brilliant. But the fact that, and I look back on it, and some people think overachieve, underachieve, etc. And I'm just happy for whatever happened up there. Things happen for a reason, and I just think that the fact that Clough thought enough of me to put me on the bench on there, he must have seen something in me, some talent.
Well, you were the first of our lot. I mean, we were doing so well, and you were the first one to get their shot, and because you were on that, I think somebody tweeted a picture as well of the squad. And you were the only one out of the youth team that had made the photograph. Yeah,
it was early, on that one from there.
What does a guy have to do?
It was the 93-94 squad.
Yeah.
I wrapped one of my textbooks at school with that, so I remember that picture vividly. And you're absolutely right, Gary Wilkinson.
Feels awkward.
Gary Wilkinson had tweeted us about the PA announcer at Kenilworth Road. But that I never noticed this until, and we will tweet it out with the podcast. It's that pinstripe kit.
Yeah.
Half the team have Labatt's on the shirt, and the other half have Shipstons. And I remember the sponsors being around at the same time, and I remember us having a different sponsor on our shirts in 93, 94. But I don't remember that team photo, the sort of alternating.
Just synonymous with drink, weren't we? Just one happy with just one drink sponsor.
It might have just said anything.
Booze.
Going back to the name thing, though, me and Vance used to, when we used to go, we'd play quite a few foreign tournaments, European tournaments, foreign. So European tournaments, like Italy and France and stuff. And I used to make a point of standing next to Vance in the lineups because McGregor and Vance always used to get a bizarre pronunciation. So we'd just be in tears getting these pronunciations. It was great fun.
There's a lovely photo of the two of you from that youth team era in the pinstripe kit on the back row of a team photo holding a piece of silverware. and everyone else is kind of smiling normally, but you two are posing like film stars or rappers or something.
Yeah, I like to blame Mac for that. I just said, look, we should just smile and be professional about it. He's going, no, rock and roll. It's all rock and roll, baby.
I said to him, Bagsy the rapper.
I'm going to show you the picture.
That sounds like a rapper's name, Bagsy the rapper.
There you are, the two of you on the back roller.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's good. Happy days, though. Look, everyone else is really professional. I was just thinking, who are those two idiots in the middle?
Yeah.
How vivid are the memories of stuff like that?
Do you know what? It's really strange because I was saying, I think at the time, and again, I can only speak for myself, I think me and Mac were quite tight during those times. There's a couple of times we've roomed, and I still know the words to Doors songs because of him. He used to just sing them all the time, and then he'll start talking about the Manics. There's one about Banks. It's like Lloyd's.
Oh, Nat West Barker's
Yeah.
Lloyd.
He used to sing it all the time.
Apocalypse.
Yeah. Oh, man.
With credit. Come on,
And then,
all right.
And it takes me back to me going, shut up, Matt, for God's sake.
No,
I'm
but listen
there.
to this. It means it really means something, man.
So these things I still know. Somebody at work was talking about Richie Manic. I was thinking, oh, he's still missing, isn't he? I was thinking, how the hell do I know that? It's really bizarre.
Because of Macca.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Because of
conversely as
Macca.
well, Vance introduced me to Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
Yeah.
Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina, Mr. Doubleina, Mr. Bob Doubleina.
Because at the time,
Public Enemy
I was all
and-
Public Enemy and
cool.
NWA and all the rest from
NWA,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, because they were the sort of halcyon days, particularly for hip hop. I'm a big hip hop head.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really sort of crazy times out there.
So what happened at Sheffield Wednesday?
Oh, okay. What was strange again? This was in sort of the top 10 moments of my life from there. So though my mum tried to get the games when she can, I used to basically have to catch a lift from somebody all the time. You know, there's Vance again trying to be friendly so he can get a lift. So just before Sheffield Wednesday,
Mr. McGregor, have you heard Public Enemy?
yeah, Mr. Greg, what do you think of it? What do you think of Chuck D and his political message and his rhetoric? So I ended up staying over at Mac's house. But it's a strange thing with all these trials that we had there, because we were always going to sign for Forest. We just went like free boots and stuff like that. I remember with Neil Glasser, I ended up going to Man U for on trial, met Sir Alex and all the rest from there. And I went to the gym. There's a gym just around the corner, just going for a stroll, and Viv Anderson was there.
Cool.
So I started talking to him, and he started saying, "Oh, you were at Forest, etc." And he started talking about the days when he was under Clough and how much he enjoyed it. Because again, he was at the tail end of his career there. I think maybe doing a bit of rehab, and it was just interesting because the guy brought me over. I think he had something to do with Viv coming to Forest at that time. So there's sort of comparisons in that regard. So it was good to converse with him. And as soon as you mentioned Forest, his eyes light up, and he's thinking, probably the best days of my life.
Well, yeah, we should be clear. When you say rehab, we mean physical rehabilitation, not like Amy Winehouse kind of. Viv's clean. It's fine.
No. Viv is clean. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you must have so many incredible. What's remarkable about it is
You just pour yourself a water, by the way.
you're too far
Every
away.
time I do it, I do everybody's. You're all right. You pull yourself one. It's fine. Do you want a water, Vance?
Do you know what? I would love a water. I was waiting for
you go,
Matthew to
I
pour
can't
one,
reach
but he
for
didn't
it. I mean,
fancy it.
if you wanted to move your once again,
I don't wanna hear
McGregor,
it.
it's your positioning that's the
I
problem.
don't want to hear.
Wow.
You've got to come to me if you want to receive it.
Okay. There we go again.
I know. Who am I to lecture you about football? Anyway, I was just trying to make a joke.
But we're doing sort of like the hero worship with Viv Anderson. Again, Des Walker was one of my heroes. So it was really strange being in the same club with him and being compared. Obviously, never going to be as great as he was.
The name helped.
You never beat him. But I can remember being in the youth team where I think it was boot boy for him and maybe Darren Wassell as well, where he said, do you want to lift home? I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. So I live, as I said, probably 5-10 minute walk from the City Ground. So I could open my bedroom window and I could hear City Ground. I could hear Trent End chanting.
Yeah.
And he had a Porsche 911 Carrera at the time.
Wow.
And he's dropped me off at Portland Leisure Centre just around the corner. And I'm looking around thinking, I hope someone can see me. I really hope someone can see me.
Cheers, Des. Thanks,
Walker.
mate.
It's Des Walker there, dropping me off in a Porsche. And then I'm like this impressionable kid thinking, he knows my name.
Wow.
And strangely, a friend went to a game, I think it was maybe earlier this season, and I think Des was one of the guests there. And he says, I work with Vance Warner. He said, bloody hell, you can't drop a name like that. Bloody. And you're thinking, how does he still remember me? It's really, it's strange. It's strange how the football fraternity kind of remembers.
Oh, of course, but I mean, this is. I was saying to upstairs before we started recording. As a fan, I was obsessed with all of you, whether it was youth team, reserves, first team, whatever. And I remember reading the programmes and seeing you and you and other names in that canon coming through the ranks, and so you were all as big in the same way. Anyone who's ever worn the Forest shirt is a god. But what must have helped coming through underneath Des Walker was that you'll never beat Vance Warner. It rhymes and sticks with the chant.
It does rhyme and it does stick, but you always got that comparison. You don't want to be the next somebody. You want to be the first somebody. Oh. And to be compared against it, I mean, it's an absolute honour and a blessing. And I can remember, I think there's something in the Evening Post where I've got my arms outstretched and it's saying like sort of the next Des Walker from there. But again, it's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
Particularly when the man is a legend and it's somebody I kind of idolised when I was younger. Not so much the curly perm.
The flat top.
But yeah, but
So
you know,
glow.
Des, come on, Des knows. It's a brother thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was great days because I said around that time, I think you'd mentioned it there. It was around England under 18s, and I know Max had his affinity with Robbie Fowler around that same time. So I was fortunate enough. I went away we played France, and the team was Saltzia Campbell. Sol Campbell was there. Gary Neville. I'm trying to think who was there. Robbie Fowler, Kev Gallen. Because that one's
Jules
a training
Joachim?
course, but I'm there. And I sorry?
Jules Joachim?
He wasn't he was in the squad, but he wasn't in that particular game.
Okay.
There's a photo of us all there. And that was the day I roomed with Beckham at the England one. So, you know, you never know what did he ever do in a game?
I think I remember him.
Yeah, dude.
This is
You
where
aware
we
of
got
his
sent off against
work?
Argentina.
He used to copy my haircuts all the time.
The other people
I
on
think
that.
Darren Eady was there, Kev Gallen was there, and you just think all our contemporaries. And I remember when Liverpool came to the City Ground and Robbie Fowler came through, and I was just stood in the hallway, and he said, "Oh, you're right, Vance," and I just went, "Yeah, Robbie," and everyone's looked at me and went, "Bloody hell, do you know?" I'm like, "Not really."
Wow.
but you knew of them because, again, the same with Mac. We played against Liverpool so many times, so you kind of knew these players coming through the system because you said, you know, class of '92. We were the class of '92, and I think Mac touched on it before. We should have won the FA Youth Cup that year.
Yes, but that's been talked about.
We should have won that. And I can remember you mentioned Bryan before the Millwall game where he's thrown the smelling salts, but. There's something, I don't know if I've just completely made this up or just remember at the time.
I do that all the time, which is kind of good for a podcast. Is everyone going to call me and say that never happened?
Or you've kind of co-opted somebody's story and it's you in the middle of it when it wasn't. And I can remember he had a hat, and I can remember he took a hat off and he's thrown it behind him. And I can remember it settling on the coat hook and spinning around. You think, you want it to fall off, and it just stayed there and you just think, that's the man, that's a genius. And I don't know whether, I've told this story so many times, and I'm kind of think, have I just made this up or is that something that happened? But
Was
it's
that
something
in the
that
Millwall
seems...
dressing room?
That was in the Millwall dressing room.
Who threw the hat?
Brian Clough.
Wow.
He's thrown it behind him.
Bond-esque.
He's thrown it behind him like that, and it's landed on a hook and spun round.
Man.
And you just think, it should fall for anybody else but for him. But I do remember the smelling salts on there.
Shaken, not stirred.
What's that?
It's a Bond Clough mashup, Matthew.
But would he say that with the smelling salts?
What?
But what was the thing with the smelling salts?
What did he do to try and calm us all down on there?
Are you awake?
Which
Yeah, I need some smelling salts.
Yeah, it's like he did some smelling salt. But he used to come in to try and calm the nerves, which made us even worse because he's come in. And he'll get the smelling salts and he'll chuck it to somebody. You've got to catch it, throw it back, and then they'll go like and chuck it and catch it and throw it back. Oh, yes. I used to think, oh, don't throw it to me, because it used to be when we were in the City Ground. The door will open, you'll hear the dog, and then we used to scatter like cockroaches. I was thinking, it's going to ask us to do the garden, it's going to ask us to do something.
But then you'd hear, Blondie!
Yeah, exactly. Armstrong! and there's a similar backstory. I've got it from, I'm sure it was Finney with this one. John Finnegan, yeah, sorry. When he's... Brian Clough's asked him to run in the bath, and so Finney's gone in and he's running the taps, and it's just cold water. It's going like that. So he goes to Graham and goes, Graham, Gaffer wants a bath, but it's all cold. And Graham used to went, just shrug his shoulders. Again, I'm shrugging my shoulders. It's not good for a podcast, is it? Nobody really knows. So he's running this bath, and he's thinking, I'm going to be in so much trouble now. I'm going to be in so much trouble. Then a Gaffer comes in, settles into the bath, goes, that's lovely, Finny. I used to think like that. What?
What was he like with you, Cloughie?
You don't know what, the younger the player you were, the better he was with you. I can remember when we did the League and Cup double just before the first team game, and he came in and he's come and hugged every single one of us, give us a kiss, and then we've gone out onto the pitch, and we've been paraded around there.
And a standing ovation from the away fans as well.
Yeah, we were amazing. We were amazing. Absolutely, we deserved that. We all deserved the accolade.
They should have got us in a bus and toured the UK with it.
I thought they were going to, but I think it was budget restrictions at the time. Yeah. Decided we didn't. We only had enough for like a tandem, so that was no good. But I can also remember before the League Cup 1992 Rumbelows. There was the Rumbelow Sprint Challenge. I don't know if you can remember that one, which is really bizarre. And
is that on the pitch before?
That was on the pitch before.
Yes.
Yeah.
You used to have to run with shin pads and your boots.
And your boots on. I think Kevin Bart was at Notts County. I think Keith Curl was there. I remember he's been in one of the heats. And Darren Wassell was going to be running for Forest.
Okay.
But of course he was playing in the game from there. And I got a call in, and Gaffer says, "This was Warner." He says, "I hear you can run a bit." I was like, yes, Gaffer. He said, "Do you fancy running at Wembley?" I went, yeah. And I'm kind of there, and I'm thinking, what is he on about? I really am good. And then, you kind of get dismissed and you go out from there. And a couple of years prior, I used to do triple jump, which is a really boring story. But I came third in the nationals, and
wow.
I think the big person on campus was Catherine Merry, one of your Fighting Talk compatriots. She was like, she's going to do England, she's going to do all this. And I got a call from somebody I knew at like an England course from athletics saying, have you seen St. Greavesy? I was like, what are you on about? He said, St. Greavesy, have you seen her? I said, no, what are you on about? He says, apparently on the show, Greavesy just says, and it seems that this Vance Warner is going to be doing the sprint challenge. I bet he's like Linford Christie. I bet, knowing Cloughie. So I was thinking, oh, bloody hell, what's going on here? So, we ended up, so I've travelled down, and I said Keith Curl was in my heat. All the Man U fans would do, boo, shut up. They left me alone, even though I had this Forest blazer on. Hello, I'm a target. And so they're all booing Keith Curl. So, you put, as I said, you get your boots on, and I was doing really well to about 60 metres, and then everyone just kind of sped past me. Who sprints in boots? It's stupid. And then I ended up, again, it wasn't the result we wanted sort of on the day, but I ended up going on the first team coach back to the City Ground, and
amazing.
It was just a hell of a day. I mean, it's the closest I got to playing on Wembley is just sprinting down the touchline.
Now I found this claim on the internet,
Go on.
so I'm not entirely sure that it's true.
It's got to be. It's on the internet. It's got to be true.
Someone said, didn't Clough once send out Vance Warner to impersonate Franz Carr for a post-match interview?
Not that I remember. I know we've had this conversation about the brothers. The only person that I've been mistaken for, again, apart from Sam Jackson and Ving Rhames and Lawrence Fishburne and the other guy, was when Bryan Roy came over. Everyone used to think I was Bryan Roy. My mum was born on a Dutch island.
I thought you were going to say even your mum did.
Yeah, even my mum went, Brian, what's Brian doing here? Get up my house, Brian. Yeah, Mark Jeffries going, no, dude, get up my house, Brian. But yeah, I used to get mistaken for Bryan Roy all the time. And he was kind of lightweight and really good guy, far better looking than I am. So I used to take him and go, yeah, of course, brief blocks, yes, of course. Bryan Roy, yeah. It's like, what? Of course. Come on, Brian.
So would that be predominantly like around Nottingham, people would say? And they're just getting confused?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think a lot of people didn't know what Bryan Roy looked like.
Yeah.
They figured, because someone's saying, I think you'd mentioned before about, footballers sometimes having a certain swagger about them.
Yeah.
Or
presence.
Yeah, a certain presence on there. I think when I went to the Rotherham Forest game, or Forest Rotherham game recently, and I could see these people looking at me thinking, he looks like a footballer.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I remember. And there's kind of doing head nods to you, going, yeah, I know you. And I'm thinking, you don't know me.
They will,
You
though.
don't know me. They go, yeah, I remember you playing. Which footballer do you think I am?
Just go, yeah, go on, do. Choose one, go on.
Maybe this person's confused you being Bryan Roy with Bryan Roy being Franz Carr and Franz Carr. Just we're going down a rabbit hole here.
Absolutely.
Have you kept any of your stuff from your playing days?
I think similar to Mac, it was like when you play football at the time, it's all encompassing and you really enjoy it. But once I kind of got away from the game, I switched off to it all. The only thing I do now is I do refereeing at sort of youth level to try and give back, because the amount of stick I gave referees, I figure I should be in the forefront at some stage and try and teach them not to be me.
Yeah.
So you've gone to the dark side then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mate, it takes a special kind of person to be a referee.
Said I just go with attitude like that. Yeah. So I dare you to say something to me. I'm a big man. I'll chase you. Don't worry about that. See what you think about it. So, but my wife kept a scrapbook of it from Forest. So, as I was researching myself, I found some old programs. I found some old pictures, some things from Nottingham Post. But the unexpected benefit is that I've learned a lot about what I did early on and things to be proud of, which I'd completely forgotten about. And there's quite a few stories, and it's really good to meet up with Mac again. As I said, I think we were tired at the time, but it's nice to meet up with him after so long, and the fact he looks pretty much the same and kept his hair is to his benefit. Yeah, absolutely.
So how long is it, do you think, since you last saw each other?
I would say good 20 odd years.
Man, that's a long
good 20 odd
time.
years. Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, and you too. I'm glad you said it first.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, someone says, I love you. I go, yeah, I love you too. That's
I
how
do
I
love
kind
you,
of went with that.
I love you both.
It's kind of like I mean, I hope you agree, but I was kind of, and it was Johnny that pulled me back into Forest, really. Coming
It's
to
my
the
fault,
ground.
sorry.
Coming to the ground.
Cheers, Johnny.
I'd go and watch if I was invited and stuff, but I've got a life to lead, and then these guys asked me to come and do the podcast. Oh, you'll be good and all that. They were wrong, but
I don't say it as reluctantly as that. Oh, you'll be good.
No, but
I was amazing.
Look at me. I'm a star.
yeah, like Beavis. I was almost embarrassed to feel pride in a past thing, because I was never brought up to sort of live in the past on anything or live on any past. I was always,
Your dad wouldn't let you do that.
Exactly. So that's football done. Now I want to do some music. Now I want to build a business. Now I want to do a thing. And it was that's how I compartmentalized my life. And looking back, it's taken quite a while to be able to get comfortable with, like, Matt being
In awe.
Yeah.
But people coming up to you and
I can see their
talking-
loving eyes.
They are very loving.
Yeah.
But people coming up to you, at the ground or wherever they might be because of the podcast and whatever, and I've relaxed into it now a little bit, and you kind of go, do you know what? They were good times, man. There are things, even if it was just a couple of goals or put it on the shirt for whatever amount of time, people remember it, and it's given joy to people, and it feels like it's quite nice. It feels like that's still quite raw for you.
Yeah, very, very much so. I can remember sort of coming off a train, going to meet my wife just from the train station. Some guy had run past, and then he sort of stopped, turned and ran back and went, "Are you Vance Warner?" Thinking, what have I done? And he said, "Oh, I used to love you. I used to watch you when I was a kid and all the rest of it." And you just think, mate, it's been 20 odd years ago. Surely you've moved on with your life from this stage. And I find it really bizarre. And the fact that you kind of invite me on this, I felt really reluctant and really embarrassed because I've seen all the, you've had real legends on this podcast. And as I said, I'm not even a footnote to a footnote.
You are, man.
But, as I said, at the time towards the end of Clough and then the European adventure under Clark, we were there. I don't know if you can remember, we played Man U, I think it was at the Cliff. What did he ever do in a game, Ryan Giggs? I don't remember. But we ended up playing against him. And I don't know if you remember, when we were on the coach coming back.
Did we get beat 5-1 and Gines scored?
Yeah, that was it. And
he scored a cracker from about 30 yards, didn't he?
I don't remember that. How clear is your memory about? Were you just jealous of his great goal?
Yeah. He's a year younger than me.
And I can remember on the coach they said, "Oh, we're not leaving yet. We've got somebody to pick up first." And we're like, "What?" Some unknown guy from Cobh Ramblers came onto the coach. Roy Keane came on the coach back from Man United to the City ground. And so that's the first day everyone heard of him. Then he played the reserve team game. Then he was in the first team. And you just think, we're on the cusp of greatness. You don't realise it at the time, but we were on the coach that brought Roy Keane to Nottingham.
That is so cool.
There. And another one we played Leeds away, and they had some unknown guy called Tony Yeboah playing up front for them. so we marked him. Didn't do anything in the game, genuinely. Not just saying this. Didn't do anything in the game. Next week, he's banging them in from up 30 yards in a crossbar going in. You just think, we're on the cusp of greatness. It's really...
Just to pique my memory, Spuggy tells this story, I think, which is why I've tried to wipe it out of my brain.
Yeah,
but
it's a lie then. It's a lie.
He tells a story that we went on a tour. I think it was one of the many French tours, or could have been the Italian one, where you got the player of the tournament.
Do you know what? It was Holland. It was a Groningen tournament. Yeah,
Dutch one. And didn't you mark Ronaldo or something?
There's a strange one. It wasn't like there's supposed to be a player like Bergkamp who was playing for one of the Dutch teams. It could have been Ajax or something like that. And everyone's talking about him being, the next big thing that was coming through. And as Matt can attest to, I marked him, and just he didn't have a kick.
Was it Bergkamp then?
It wasn't Bergkamp. Bergkamp just destroyed me. But it was a player along those lines that he's supposed to be the next big. I can't remember who it was, but marked him out of the game, and I got the People's Player of the tournament. And you think players from there, it was people like Kluivert had won it, Seedorf had won it, and this particular tournament. I didn't get the panel's choice because I didn't show enough skill, hence destroyer, not creator, because they wanted him to win, and I stifled his creativity with my destruction.
The Sun covered a story in May 1996. The front page of The Sun. Soccer Aces wreck coach in Rampage.
Have you seen page 2? The photograph's immense.
Yes, I've got it here.
Have you seen how bad do you look, by the way?
Do I look bad in that?
You look bad. You look smashed.
You look laddie.
I look mint. Look at that bonnet.
You look like trouble, mate.
Yeah.
We had, because I lived with John Finnegan and my mate Langley at the house. We used to have that on our fridge. We used to have that on the cover because we were like Rogues of the Month in Loaded magazine after that. So what really happened is that as we came back on the coach there's a bit of hijinks, drinking, and all the rest of it from there. And the guy, he was all right. He was laughing, and all of a sudden, I think he got sacked. He got a bit upset, so he sold this. But unbeknownst to us, we were going away, I think, either to a tournament again in France or Holland or something like that. And we're going into the airport, and Alan Hill goes, lads, if the press come to you, don't say anything. We're like, what are you on about? He said, the press come, mate. Do not say anything, guys. We're like, what? So we were thinking, what's going on? So we end up going to W.H. Smith's. We see the headline, Soccer Aces wreck coach in Rampage, thinking, oh, bloody hell, at least it won't be any of us. Then we open up the next page. I think Mac's there at the front with like a beer in a wine glass or something like that. I've got the biggest beaming smile in the middle of it all from there.
Big smile.
And I was thinking, I'm going to have to tell my girlfriend. I'm going to have to speak to her and say, look, don't believe everything. And I remember we were having to phone from like Holland, whatever, saying, it's not true. What you're reading there, it's not true from that. And you just think, man, and
mate,
that's before social media.
And how much truth was in it?
Well, my take on that was when we got to this guy met us and he said, I'll look after you, I'll take you out. Where was it? It was in Malaga or something.
It's
Magaluf, that was it. So first bar we went in, empty. Guys, do you mind having a photograph for the wall? Yeah. Everyone's stone cold sober. So we sit down. On that photograph, everyone's stone cold sober. So we sit down. They put bottles of champagne, loads of free champagne. Boys, who wants a beer? Beer? Sit us all down. That was the picture that got taken.
Oh man!
Now my night erupted because I wasn't on the coach on the way back.
Why not?
Well, I'd met 4 girls, right? So I ended up staying. They were saying, come back to the flat.
Just
so
the 4.
Crikey!
Yeah, it was quite nice. So I went back on my own with these guys. Right, these girls.
Freudian slip. I like it.
So I went back. So nothing happened, by the way. Just we were drinking, playing some music, and whatever.
Had a chat.
Honestly, we had a nice chat. And apparently, Stoney had taken one of the curtains off because they were on poppers and put it round him, and that was the rip. That was the destroying of the bus.
So that was
really,
it.
Yeah, it was mental. Nothing happened. Honestly, it was a complete overstory. But we got back, and I was lying in bed. Can you remember my house in the park? It was like a bond.
Yeah, I can remember because everyone else had places in Bridgeford or the Meadows, and he went, "I'm going to get one in the park."
Brilliant.
Did you have your yellow Jeep then or not?
No, I had my Renault.
Do you remember that yellow
something-
Jeep?
Oh yeah.
What a
First ever
yellow
car.
Jeep.
Quality.
It was a Suzuki Vitara. I bought it off a Page 3 girl. Anyway.
Oh my God.
So I'm lying in this house, right? It's all open plan, and
Beautiful place.
my phone machine, the answer machine,
The phone.
it was the answer machine. It was broken, so it would just click on and blurt out. So I'm lying in bed the morning this comes out with my girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And it's clicked on, and it's gone, Macca, and I've gone, hello, it's the boss. So my girlfriend's gone, oh okay. Anyway, the phone thing's gone ping. So this is echoing around the house. Frank Clark's voice is booming around my house. My girlfriend's in the bathroom. Have you seen a front page? I was like, no, boss. He's like, you want to go and buy it? You're all over the I was like, really? He's like, 10th grade. And absolutely was laying into me. I was like, boss, trying to whisper. My whisper is echoing around the house. I wasn't there. I was with some girls. I can't hear you, son. Get yourself in here now and buy a paper. And the phone went down.
Yeah.
Girlfriend's
Remember your timelines. Remember your timelines.
Girlfriend's coming. Who was that? I was like, oh, it's the boss. I've got to go into work. Apparently, something's happened. So I went in, and I've gone in. Him and Liam is sat there, and he started tearing me a new one. I said, boss, I wasn't there. I was trying to say I wasn't there. I was with some girls. He started laughing his head off, did he?
Wow. So actually, it was a kind of tabloid
100%.
concoction.
I mean, we had a laugh.
Yeah, it was a good laugh. Yeah, absolutely. Can you remember when we went to Jersey? And all the lads went out for Chinese, like all the first team, everything. There's me, you, and there's one more person. I can't think who it was. But while everyone else was like going, oh, I'm going to have a chicken chow mein, I'm going to have pork balls, etc. Yeah, I know, your two favourite things. Well, brilliant. Chicken chow mein and pork balls. You see his eyes just light up. Yeah.
Sweet and sour sauce.
We stayed in the hotel and we had a look at the menu. And we ended up, ordered lobster thermidor and foie gras and caviar and everything from there.
Because we were told it was free, weren't we?
Yeah. And, we ended up ordering all this fine, like we're like mini Henry VIII on tour.
For about 4 nights. So we're sat there, we've got gout and everything. The gaffer comes in, "What's this bill?" I think that was the weekend at Pearce. He kicked me in the full on when we came in drunk.
Yeah, naturally so. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Vance, as you alluded to earlier, you're raising money for the Teenage Cancer Trust in honour of John Perkins, who sadly passed away, the famous Forest coach. You're running 1,215 miles.
Yeah, this
and
year.
growing an afro.
Yeah, as I said, it's really weird. It's a weird combination thinking, running and afro growing. Who's thought of that one?
You're just going to get more drag.
Yeah, I ran 1,785 miles last year.
Wow.
And which is why I'm running that strange amount to make it 3,000 miles over 2 years. But everyone says, well, you run anyway. So I said, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll grow an afro. I think it's kind of at the Apollo Creed stage at the moment. Because no one's interested about the running. They just wanted to see me with hair, because I've not had hair for about 25 years. So, while some try to retain theirs.
You've still got a fair bit of it left, Mac.
I didn't even say anything.
All down to Propecia.
And I've also had a shaven head, so I figured. And now I've got people wanting to run their fingers through my hair. What's that all about? It's all craziness.
Later.
So I thought it was very apt because of how John was. He always used to tell Macca, cut your hair, Macca, cut your hair, Macca. Every week, cut your hair, Macca. And I thought it's an ironic tribute that I'm going to be growing mine in this case. And again, for Teenage Cancer Trust, because again of what he did for the youth team from there, it's sort of like, seven young people between sort of 13 and 24 every day are diagnosed with cancer. And this is the kind of, specialist help that's in the UK. They're the only charity of its kind that does that. So that's why I want to raise. So I'm hoping to raise at least £1,215.
Amazing.
So it's at least £1 per mile that I run. So I'm hoping that the Forest fans will get behind it and go to justgiving.com/Afro Miles.
That's right. I've got it. I was going to read it all out.
You still can, Matt. You still can.
justgiving.com/AfroMiles, and I'm sure we'll all donate.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure lots of our listeners will as well. So thanks very much.
He's a lovely fella, John, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was quality. As I said, I think Mac alluded to it before. My life is largely devoid of positive father figures. And the fact that, you've kind of got Brian Clough there as a guide and John Perkins, where they taught you how to be men, taught you how to be gentlemen, taught you the importance of manners. You always had to tuck your shirt in. And I think it's very important, particularly in this time and age where respect seems to be at a modicum. It's not the natural default for a lot of young people today. So, I'm very appreciative of what he did. And strangely, his son, Ben, contacted me on Facebook in regards to it, because you don't know how people feel when you're doing a tribute, when you've kind of not really asked permission, but you've done it anyway. And he just said he absolutely loved the pictures. He loved seeing how happy his dad was during that time, and really appreciated what he was doing. So it was nice that, he reinforced that we're doing the right thing, and it's been, a fantastic trip down memory lane for a lot of people.
Well, Ben, your father was a very good man.
Absolutely.
Very fond memories of him.
Hero at the club, obviously. I mean, I have memories of him just seeing him around and in the team photos and everything. So I know he meant a lot more to you guys. As always, we get a lot of emails about various guests. So Guy Moussi was on the show recently.
Yeah.
Stuart Young got in touch. He said, Guy Moussi, what a lovely man. I met him in the hairdressers at East Leek once with my young son, who was proudly wearing his brand new Forest shirt. Guy made a proper fuss of him and then grabbed a pen, wrote a nice message on his shirt and then signed it. It made my lad's day. But he then insisted the shirt was never to be worn and had to be hung on his bedroom wall, making me go out and buy another one that he could wear. It cost me another 30 quid.
Well played.
So Stuart Young, mixed feelings about meeting Guy Moussi by the sense that he said, your podcast is class. Thanks, lads. Well, thank you, Stuart.
I think Guy should stump up that money.
Yes, Guy, you need to provide this man with 30
It'd
quid.
be nice enough to do it as well.
Yeah.
He's such a nice man. But what that made me think of asking you, Vance, was, have you kept any of your old Forest shirts?
Yeah, actually I have. Yeah, they're hanging up in a cupboard somewhere in the house somewhere.
Do you know which ones you've got?
I've got the one with a Premiership badge on it.
94, 95?
To prove it. I think it's similar to the one that you were wearing of Max.
Oh, yes. So the one with the black thing.
Yeah.
So the one that you wore when you played against Derby?
Yes, one war against Derby. Yeah, that would be the one from there. And I've got the one from Stuart Pearce's testimonial.
Oh, that's the one I was going to ask you about.
Because I was going to bring in, because you got this crystal goblet with St. Stuart Pearce's testimonial. I was going to bring it in for you, but I decided against it. I don't really know you, do I? So
Vance,
you might ruin it. You might ruin it. You might smash it or something.
I would have held it more carefully than I would have cradled a baby's head.
So I
would have supported the neck.
So precious.
Yeah,
so precious.
My arm like that.
I wasn't sure whether I'd get it back, so I don't know how physically strong you are. So I didn't want to take the risk from.
I'm so glad you kept that shirt.
Because it was all signed. Because I can remember Gary McAllister was in the team. Because Steve Guinan was in the Newcastle team. He was in that changing room. So I can remember Ginola was playing on the left wing and I was playing right back. And then Gillespie came on, and you see a spree in the middle. And then Keegan comes on with McDermott. Wow. You're like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, absolutely surreal.
So, and then they played Simply the Best at the end for a lap of honour, and I cried, as we all did.
Absolutely.
We all wept that day. Well, here's another story for you. So this is from Sam. He said, a moment in your Guy Moussi podcast struck me when he was talking about Billy Davies subconsciously making the side believe in pre-season they were going to win the league. Our first game at home of the season, at home, and me and my two mates lived in Ruddington. We were heading to the game. We were going to our mate's house to get a season ticket before getting the bus to the ground. Luke Chambers, the week before, had been sent off against Reading in an away game. We were walking down the street when Luke Chambers where he happened to live, and I saw him pulling out of the side road with his window down in his Range Rover. My mate said we should ask for a lift, and me, being the loudmouth teenager I was, grew a pair out of nowhere and shouted, "Oi Luke, give us a lift, will you?" To our astonishment, the answer was, "Sure, jump in and I'll take you to the ground." In utter disbelief, we jumped in and then had to explain we had to go via our mate's house to fetch his season ticket. We were talking about various subjects on the way. We had opinions to share. Luke Chambers did not hold back. And he also said, with absolute certainty, Forest are going to win the league. He said to us, "Trust me, lads, we will win the league this year." Me and my mates looked at each other like, "Yeah, all right then, mate," thinking the guy had gone a bit crazy. But as he says, this Billy Davies gave these lads that mentality. Now, I remember once seeing Stuart Pearce drop a couple of lads off in the car park who'd asked for a lift. Did this ever happen to either of you? If people saw you driving near the ground, would people ask for lifts? And did you ever give anyone a lift?
I'll answer this first, Paul.
Yeah.
You go for it.
I didn't learn to drive till I was 30, so probably not. Unless it's a piggyback.
A croggy on your bike.
A croggy, yeah. It certainly wasn't me.
A croggy.
No one wanted to get in my cars. They were ludicrous.
That's another thing. Did you ever get a McDonald's black card?
Yeah, it sounds like it. I'm trying to think. Was that similar to a Black Orchid black card?
That has sent shivers through the soul of Paul McGregor.
I gave mine away straight away. I was going to Rock City and stuff, but
I was a professional. I never bothered doing that kind of thing.
Of course. Sorry, I should never have asked the question.
Exactly. Yeah, how rude.
Rob Fox has got in. He says, "Dear Matt, Paul and Johnny, I've been thinking about writing since listening to the Macca special. I went to university in 94. We beat Spurs away the day before I went to uni. A big part of my identity was a Forest fan in a shared house with a Liverpool fan and a Man United fan. Listening to us lose away at Arsenal while doing coursework in my room through the final day and the finishing third. Obviously, my reinvention also included obsessing about bands, mostly the same as Paul bangs on about. Elastica, Sleeper, Echo Belly, Marion, etc. And Paul Weller supported by
scratch
Norco.
Sleeper and Echo Belly from that. Thank you.
So Elastica and Marion?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll meet in the middle. My then girlfriend even interviewed Macca for her college magazine and got backstage tickets for a gig, which I missed as I was away at uni.
Oh, yeah.
She looked she looked amazing in the skinny red Merc t-shirt, though, so it wasn't a total loss. I even remember being at a space gig the night before we lost away at Liverpool, and my dad telling me Frank Clark had resigned when I got home. I have so many vivid memories of the era, and the podcast is a delight at bringing so many back. Keep up the good work, Rob J. Fox. So, Macra, I suppose the question is, do you remember meeting Rob Fox's girlfriend backstage and giving her a skinny red Merc t-shirt? Do you remember the Merc merch?
I do, yeah. Unfortunately, it was the forest tree with Merc written underneath with the R like this.
Yeah. Do you know what? That was the first time I stage dived was at your Merc gig at Rock City. And I can remember I had a jumper tied around my waist, and then somebody unraveled it and stole it and ran off with it as I'm being lifted across the crowd. I can remember the first time.
That gig was just bomb.
It's crazy, wasn't it?
Remember, Merc was my school band, right? So we didn't know what we were doing really. We were just doing covers really, and the odd original. And we played this show, and you've got the whole of the Forest first team squad down the front moshing, and everyone going absolutely crazy. The whole of Disco 2 was full, like 300.
Yeah, it was absolutely
people.
ram. Absolutely ram.
I mean, it was like being in the Pistols or something. It was balmy. It was absolutely balmy.
Wow,
unbelievable.
But people caught you when you stage dived.
Yeah. Otherwise, it could have been trouble. But it's funny what the last guy said about the Liverpool game. Beforehand, because I remember it was your birthday. It would have been your 17th of December.
17th,
yeah.
Good memory.
Oh my God!
Because it's my wife's birthday as well, coincidentally. My two favourite people in the world.
Thanks, mate.
And I can remember prior to that game, we'd both gone with the first team out there. I think Stan had left Forest. He was at Liverpool. And
Did I play? Is that the one I played?
Yeah, you come on there because when we were in the changing rooms. He started going through the team, and then right at the end he said, Vance, you'll be marking Stan. And that's the first I knew I was going to be playing.
Oh, man.
So I can remember, and I think you alluded to yours, because I did the same thing. This is Anfield, and you're like that. You tap the sign, you're thinking, I don't know whether I'm going to ever come back and do this ever again. So I remember going out there.
Did you tap the sign?
Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Of course.
I thought I was the only one. I stood right at the back with like Robbie.
Absolutely. Because you went out and I think you alluded to the team. The team, Bjornby, Barnes, McManaman, McAteer, Bab, and then you've got Fowler and Stan up front.
God.
And I can remember thinking, gee, and I think maybe like 36,000 at Anfield. And I was thinking, Jesus,
we destroyed them as well for the first 30 minutes.
We were doing so well. And then I think there was an own goal. I think Stan had picked up 2. And I can remember Robbie was there. And I thought, we've started getting a bit overrun. So I've kind of, as you said, I'm a nurturer. So I kind of nurtured Robbie out the game with a tackle. and I thought, we'll have a bit of respite. And then Patrick Berger came on. He's like, oh, what the hell's going on? So, and I think you come on then as well. You came on that. I'm sure you came on the game.
Started
the game, yeah.
Yeah, I came off with cramp.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all bloody back now, isn't it? Oh yeah,
exactly,
it's you. Yeah.
And it was strange. I went out with on a team night out just recently. My gaffer and his friend was a Liverpool fan, and we were just talking about somehow we got onto football. And he said, what year was that? I think it was like 96. I said, okay. And I'd forgotten about it. And anyway, my gaffer came over about a week later and he said, this is for you. And it was a programme from the actual game itself.
Oh, that is cool.
And he said, my mate was a bit of a geek because he used to score like the players on the back of it. But I've got the actual programme, because I never kept it from that day, but I've actually got the programme from that game.
What score did I get? What score did he give me?
I don't think you were significant enough at that time.
Oh.
I set both the first goals up.
Yeah.
Both of our goals up. I set them up.
And I realised how great you were in there, but he was a Liverpool fan. What did he care about you?
All right.
Oh, so it was only he didn't score any.
No,
of
he didn't score
okay.
the Forest
So
one. He would have scored highly, Mac. You know that.
Cheers, man.
Come on.
So Vance, we end each episode by asking our guests the sorts of questions you used to get asked in football magazines when you were playing. So, what's your favourite film?
It's like saying, who's your favourite child? You know who you are, don't you, child? At home. I'm like Usual Suspects or Goodfellas, Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
There's so many great films out there. It's hard to do it. I do have a certain top 10, but I think I've mentioned enough there.
Favourite meal?
Anything my mum cooks. I love you, mum.
I can contest to that. She introduced me to was it?
It'd be curry goat or curry mutton.
Goat, yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, mate, my mind just walking into that household as a young lad. You seen your dad's stereo? Which is about
Stack
taller
hi-fi.
than you are now.
Yeah.
Good
Good
all
memory.
The buttons on it. It was like the thing from Rocky IV, that robot. Hello, Paulie.
I know you're gonna finish this question. I've just got to tell a really quick story.
Yeah.
Because of why my wife is very suspicious about Spuggy.
Okay.
So really, really quick. I think it would have been, we just got promoted from Third Division and we went to Tenerife. And I think it was Champions League final where I think Milan beat Barca something like 4-0. I'd been ill sort of the week before and I had a stomach ache, I had a headache, but I thought I'd rather be ill in Tenerife than ill in Nottingham. So we ended up flying out and we were watching the game and I was rooming with Spuggy that night. So as it happened on there, I went back to the room. I went, Spuggy, I said, I'm really struggling, mate. I said, I can hardly breathe. He'd had a few drinks, so he opened up the balcony door, went back to sleep. Anyway, that's what I can remember of it. Anyway, Spuggy goes downstairs in the morning. He goes, I think Vance is dying. so
very casual
carried on having his breakfast. Gaz Bowyer ran up with Tony, the coach driver. Remember coach driver Tony? He came up there. Don't really need to know, but I sleep naked, but I'm passed out on the floor, completely out cold.
Yeah.
So they call the ambulance, and apparently I'm kind of lucid, and they're trying to put a drip in me, and I'm pulling it out. I'm pulling this drip out.
Oh, man.
I wake up 2 days later. I was in a coma for 2 days.
Oh, what?
And I wake up, and I look around. I'm in a hospital bed. I'm tied to the bed. My arms are tied to the bed, and I'm looking down. I'm butt naked, and I'm looking around, and there's like a cord coming out from under the sheets, and I've been catheterized while I was asleep. So there's a big bag of urine outside of the bed, and I'm thinking, this must have been a hell of a party. What the hell's happened from here? I'm still tied up. What it was that I had meningitis, which is why I had the headaches, and while I was feeling sick that week beforehand.
Whoa.
And I think if I'd stayed home, as much as like my roommates were there, they probably just thought Vance is asleep. I probably would have been dead there. I think the fact that I was as fit as I was happened to be with the first team, I could get medical help pretty quickly, that I'm here today. So that's just why my philosophy, it doesn't really matter what happens. I'm lucky to be alive, from there. So
Spuggy saved your life?
So no. Gaz Bowyer, exactly.
Spuggy was very casual about it.
So it was one of those where I woke up and then they just said, you were half an hour away from dying. It was only for the fact you were as fit as you were that you ended up, that you survived it. Right. So my wife's always been really suspicious of Craig from that day on. She's thinking, he's trying to kill you. Anything to get in that first team, he's trying to kill you.
If it's not his negligence, it's his boring story.
Favourite musical artist?
Now or then, I think is the question I was asked.
Or do both?
from that. As I said, for me, it's I was telling Mac earlier, I ended up going to a Ramones gig at Rock City, and as much as I like music, it wasn't really something for the brothers, the Ramones gig. So, but the things you do for love. So the girlfriend at the time said, "Come on, we'll go to Rock City." And I'm watching it, and I remember in the gantry watching it, and I'm watching people spit on other people and all the rest of it, thinking, "This is not my thing. This is not my thing." But I always liked Public Enemy, as Mac alluded to earlier on, and all the rest. And what's really good is that I'm taking my son to his first gig, which is Public Enemy, Wu-Tang, and De La Soul.
Oh,
at Manchester. It's at Manchester.
What modern artists are you into?
Are we talking about hip hop?
Yeah.
I like Kendrick Lamar. I just think it's strong. Childish Gambino, so talented. I mean, I watch Atlanta. Just an amazing actor. Anyone else could play Lando Charisma? I don't think so. But it's just charisma. The man is, it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Who was, in your Forest days, the best dressed teammate?
Come on, just say it.
The best eclectically dressed, or
However you
conventionally, classically dressed? What are we talking about? I don't think Star was high. I don't know if you saw a couple of the old pictures. I remember we went to Barcelona. It might have been with South Knots, I think, or with Forest, and there's some moody gear, some proper moody gear. But Mac was always kind of that style. Like, even when he was always looking out for, being impressionable.
Okay.
So yeah. You
don't believe me, do you?
Yeah.
I do believe you. It's just whenever we tweet the picture to promote the podcast, your trousers get a lot of attention.
So they should.
But
they're designed that way.
But the whole thing is like, he was very much individual, as I was very much individual. Loved football, but for me, it wasn't the be-all and end-all. And I think it's very much the same with Mac, is that, you're passionate about what you do, but you realise there's other facets to life. And I think that's probably why we were, quite good friends when we were younger from there, because we recognised that in each other, that sort of independence from the rest in that regards.
Oh, man, what a lovely note to end on. Vance, this has been amazing.
Oh, it's been fantastic, guys. Honestly, it's been an absolute privilege, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh,
I really enjoyed that.
It was inevitable. So many people have talked about you that it feels very magical to have you here, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you for listening. We'll be back in a few weeks, but email the show, rrd1865@outlook.com, with any Forest memories or any photos or anything at all, any anecdotes from your time, if you're a mascot or a ball boy, or remember any particular weird Forest stories. And of course, follow us on Twitter @rrd1865. And please share this with other friends on Facebook and on Twitter and Instagram and everything else. Leave us a review and hit subscribe. Until next time, ta-ra.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.